In our next problem, we're going to calculate the costs of making bookshelves. And we're going to make bookshelves out of two types of wood, pine and elm. We are going to use the same amount of board feet of material for both. This could theoretically differ if some kind of a wood has a bigger loss associated with it, but right now for pine and elm these are the same 30 board feet of material. We are also using the same number of labor hours. That's going to be 16. And to calculate all these costs, we also know that currently a board foot of pine costs $5 and a board foot of elm costs $6. We have also calculated how much during the next years we are actually going to calculate these costs for 7 years. So this year is year 0, and it's followed by 6 other years. So we have forecasted that the cost of one board foot of material will be inflated. It will raise by 2 and 3% per year respectively. We also know that for the worker 1 hour costs $18.5, and we think that the salary will be going up by 4.4% annually. There is one last component to these costs, namely it's called the ongoing royalty fee. This means that we're producing these bookshelves following some other big company's design, and for that, for the rights, we have to pay this other company a minuscule amount, only $1 for each bookshelf. Okay. And now let's start calculating, and for our calculations we will first have to consider the cost of one board foot material. We will later see why we build up the table like this. We will have to consider the cost of one board foot for each successive year. So we'll write in here equals, and we take this $5. And now the way we've done, this is a kind of a recap. We're going over material we've already done in the past. The way we've done it is we now take the second year, and it goes like this. The first year equals $5. The second year equals previous year, and we want to inflate it by 2%. So it's times parentheses 1 plus this 2%. Equals C22, which is the previous value, times 1 plus 2%. Remember, 2% was 0.02. 1 plus 0.02 is 1.02, which means that, added together, this is going to be 102%. Let's put parentheses in here. Remember that the previous formula just took the initial price. And now we want to copy this second formula the way we've done. The table progresses from up to down. But the only thing is we have to use dollar signs for this green cell in here. So we go to C10, we press on F4 key, and it's going to be $C, $10. And now we can copy it, and we see the inflationary trend in the price of pine. There's actually one good story to tell about pine and elm, namely computer people are very fond of acronyms, and elm actually used to be a computer program called ELM. And then the competitors made, that was back in the 1990s, 1980s, and then the computer people made another competing email program, and it was called Pine. And Pine was an acronym as well, and it stood for Pine, P-I-N-E. Pine is not elm. So one email program Elm, the other Pine is not Elm, Pine. Okay, now what is actually wrong with this formula, to come back to our exercise, is that we want to copy this in here, which means that if for this dollar addresses we should somehow do it like when we copy it down, the green cell remains in place. But when we copy it to Elm, the screen should shift from 2% to 3%, which means that we should take this formula again, use F4, as long as we have $10. Remember, here dollar was in front of 10, which means that the formula will not be moving down. But there was no dollar in front of C, which means that the formula will be moving from C to D to Elm, from Pine to Elm. Okay, so let's click enter, let's copy it again. Now it works still the same way, but we can take it and copy it. And here it is. The initial value takes the Elm's price, which is $6. The next one takes the previous price of Elm and inflates it by 3%. Okay, it works just fine. Okay, now let's take the next one, labor costs. It turns out that we have to calculate the cost for 1 hour of labor for all the 7 years as well. It goes pretty much following the same pattern. So it goes like this, equals, and the first value is often just this initial one, C13 or $18.5, and the second value equals the previous one inflated by 4.4% or multiplied by, parentheses begin, 1 plus 4.4%. This means 4.4% is, again, remember how it went. For instance, if we take 12 and take 10%, we get 1,2. If we take this 10% and use Control 1 and turn it into a number and use decimal places, we see that it's 0,1. So if 10% is 0,1, then 4% is 0,044. And if we add 1 to it, we get 1,044, which is 104.4%. And now we make this price higher. And what we also want to do is we want to use dollar signs in here, but now we can use dollar signs the whole way, because we are only going to be copying this labor number up and down, so we can just use both dollar signs so that it will not move anyway, in any way. And let's copy it, and here it is, the price of an hour of work going up by 4.4%. And now that we've calculated this as well, we can just calculate the cost of a bookshelf, let's say made out of pine, for, let's say, the first year. The cost itself is going to be like this, equals, and we take at first how much wood we need, 30 working hours, times the price of wood for that year, the price of pine for that year. Okay, so that's one part. Now let's add to it how much work we need, 16 hours times the price of work for that year. And we're going to add one more component plus this royalty fee, $1. And okay, so it was how many board feet of material times the price of material, how many hours of work times the price of work, plus the royalty fee, and here is the formula. And now we're going to start putting dollar signs in here. And now let's use the dollar signs on that as well. First of all, the 30 work hours in the blue cell. These will have to move left and right because we're going to copy this formula to Elm as well. But they won't move up and down when we copy it to next year's. So for C5 we will have to use F4 key so long that it becomes C$5. When we copy it down, dollar sign will hold 5 in place. It will not turn into 6, 7, 8. C will turn into D when we copy it to Elm. So C$5. Next up, C22, the green cost of 1 board foot. This will no doubt have to move up and down because we copy it to next year's. But it will also have to move left and right because we are going to copy it to Elm, and then the green cell will have to move to Elm as well. Next, so this one, C22, will have no dollars whatsoever. The next one is C6, and it will, let's consider it. It's the labor hours, 16 labor hours, the deep purple one. And this will not have to move up and down because when we copy to next year's, it will have to stay stick on 6th row. But it will have to move left, right. When we copy to Elm, it will shift to Elm. The number 16 is the same in here, but it could change, it could be different. Okay, so C6 will be, let's press on F4 key, so long that we'll have again C$6, which is the rows are fixed, the columns will move. And now E22. E22 is the number that takes the labor cost into account. It will no doubt have to move up and down because the labor costs are different from year to year. But this one will not have to move left and right because when we copy it to Elm, it will still have to stay in E column. It will move up and down, but not from E column to D column. So we click F4 so long that we'll have $E, dollar fixes E, won't move left, right, 22 will move up, down. Okay. And now the last one. The last one is going to be C16. This will not have to move in any way because the ongoing royalty fee is always $1, won't move. And F4. And here it is, let's enter it. And here we see that this formula is really the most complex we've seen for dollar signs ever. It has dollar in front of 5. No dollar at all. Dollar in front of E. Both dollars. So all the 4 options are present in here. And when we copy it, let's copy it at first down. Remember, we could copy it on one direction only. We copy it at first down, and then we drag the whole column and copy it to the left, right. And here we see, for instance, 3rd year Elm takes the correct costs, takes the correct usages, takes the franchise cost, everything works perfectly. So here it is. And at the very end, we see that the Elm, the bookshelf made out of Elm, costs 600 exactly.